country with fascinating history shaped by conquest, conflict, and revolution. This country emerged from the fragmentation of the larger Carolingian Empire. This kingdom consolidated power and expanded its territory, becoming known as a name we all know today. People of this country, colonial empire, is composed the overseas colonies and mandates territories that came under their rule from the 16th century. Between the two world wars and the Second War, this country stood as the second largest colonial empire in the world. Throughout that time, the country has gained many influences and has influenced others with culture. This country is France. When it comes to cultural contributions and unique characteristics, France holds a place of prominence on the global stage. From architectural wonders to their unique taste of penchant for protest, the French have made their mark in various fields. It's incredible how a tower that was supposed to be dismantled after the 1889 World Fair has become the symbol of the nation and one of the most famous structures in the world. Every year, 7 million people visits the Eiffel Tower, making it the world's most visited paid monument. France also has the highest consumption of cheese per capita in the world. Each region has its own cheese specialty, so there are more than 1,600 types of cheese in France. It's very cliché to imagine a French person with a baguette under the arm, but it's true. French people buy and eat a lot of bread. This isn't a meal where the bread wouldn't have a spot on the table. France also has an incredible variety of wines. For foreigners, French wines can be very confusing. They have the name of the region, sometimes a tiny area, rather than the name of the grape. There are strict rules to be able to use as a region's name. Did you know that despite the name and popularity, the French fries are not French? It says that this dish was discovered by American soldiers during World War I. And since the dominant language of the southern Belgium is French, they dubbed the tasty potatoes as French fries. Foreigners are often shocked by the smell of free public toilets. You can also sometimes smell urine in a few public places, especially train stations, but that's as bad as you can get. Despite being rude, smelly, and provocative, France also has a reputation for being romantic. Paris is known as the city of love, and the French are reputed to be one of the most romantic countries and the language in the world. Guess where the French kiss comes from? In France. It's seen as a passionate art from the tantalizing expression of love and desire. French people embrace it as a natural, enjoyable part of intimacy, without any stigma, some culture attached to it. France maintains a strict tradition of secularism. In turn, discussing the religious composition of French society can be quite complicated. It is estimated that 63 to 66% of the population identified as Catholic, 7 to 9% identified as Muslims, 0.5 to 0.75 identify as Jewish, 0.5 at 0.75% identified as Buddhist, and 0.5 till 1% identified with some other religions. A further 23% to 28% of population is believed to be unaffiliated with any religion. The concept of laïcité is considered by many to be an essential part of what it means to be a French citizen. According to French Constitution in 1958, France shall be an indivisible, secular, and democratic and social republic. For example, it will be considered as a serious error for a teacher to discuss religion in public schools. In 2004, a ban was placed on all conspicuous religious symbols in public schools, effectively banning the wearing of hijabs, kippas, skullcaps, and crucifix, among the other conspicuous religious wear. The ban caused some to interpret this as an interference by the government in the religious life of citizens. The topic of laïcité is debated throughout the country. Many are calling for a revision of the approach of laïcité as French society becomes more heterogeneous and multi-religious. In this sense, some argue that France is a secular state but not necessarily a secular society, whereby some members believe religion is not separate from the public affairs. Catholicism was once the state religion of France and continues to be the primary religion in French society. Throughout most of the country, communities began as parishes today. Many rural villages see to the local church buildings as symbols of a local identity. The church bell rings to mark deaths and weddings. Many people have their infants baptized, and most private educations in France is Roman Catholic. Today, France has one of the largest Muslim populations in the European Union. For those who migrated to France, many feel Islam is a part of their personal identity and culture. Indeed, many of the younger generations of Muslims are often embrace Islam as cultural identity. France also has the largest Jewish community in the European Union. The events of World War II had significant impact on the Jewish community in France. It took numerous decades for the country to recover. In contemporary France, the Jewish community continues to pay homage to their spiritual and religious heritage through passing on traditions and knowledge from generation to generations within their family. France is known for its vibrant cultural heritage and celebrates various holidays throughout the year. Let's take a closer look at some of the significant French holidays. Our journey begins with New Year's Day, known as Jour de l'An. In French, on January 1st, the French welcomed the New Year's with fireworks, parties, and gathering with families and friends. Next, we have Easter Monday. This public holiday is observed on the Monday following Easter Sunday. Families often come together to enjoy a festive meal and engage in activities like egg hunts. Moving on to May 1st, we have Labor Day. This day dedicated to workers who demonstrate their rights and achievements. It is marked by parades, demonstrations, and the distributions of Lily of the Valley flowers as a symbol of good luck. May 8th is a significant day in France as it commemorates Victory in Europe Day, or Fête de la Victoire. On this day, the French remember the sacrifices made during World War II and honor the veterans who fought for freedom. 40 days after Easter, we celebrate Ascension Day, or simply Ascension. This day marks the ascent of Jesus Christ into heaven. Many people attend churches service, while some religions organize processions of pilgrimages. Now let's fast forward to July 14th, France's National Day, known as Fête Nationale. This day commemorates the French Revolution and is filled with grand festives across the country. Military parades, fireworks, and public events are held to celebrate this historic occasion. On August 15th, France celebrates Assumption Day, a Catholic holiday that honors the Virgin Mary's Assumption into heaven. November 1st is All Saints' Day, a day dedicated to honoring and remembering the deceased. On November 11th, Armistice Day is observed to mark the end of the World War I. It is a solemn day of remembrance honoring the soldiers who sacrificed their lives for peace. Finally, we come to December 25th, Christmas or Noël. A significant holiday celebrated in France. Families come together for a festive meal, exchange gifts, and attend midnight masses to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. This holiday provides a glimpse into our rich traditions and cultural heritage for France. From New Year's Day, Christmas, each celebration is observed with joy, reverence, and strong sense of national identity. France truly embraces its vibrant cultural tapestry through these significant holidays. The French also has a set of values that they withhold. For example, their national motto is Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, which has three parts. The first part being liberty, represents the freedom for one to do whatever they want to do, as long as it doesn't harm others. The second part being equality, represents the attitude to treat others equally, no matter the race, gender, religion, etc. The final part being fraternity, represents the brotherhood of the entire nation of France. This being the national motto means that the citizens withhold this motto and act according to it. This also indicates that the French people act as one unified, undivided group. Things like same-sex marriage and LGBTQ+ are accepted in France. Pride parades are also held for supporting these things. Family values are very prominent in France. For example, a typical French work week lasts 35 hours compared to the Philippines' 40. Legal legislatures protect a worker rights to be with their family, since for France it is an important thing for people to be with their family. Things such as table manners and gifts giving are often highly regarded in France. Visiting one's home uninvited is rude there. The word bonjour is often said to say hello to someone. French people greet even in a rush. When visiting a house, one may give a small gift to the host, usually a bottle of wine, obviously. French people appreciate high-quality wines a lot. Unlike in the Philippines, where the heaviest meal is breakfast, France does it the opposite way. They have dinners as the heaviest meal. French values are vast, and unfortunately, I can't tell them all. After all, culture spans more than just values. So let's move on from now. French people treat their relationships quite seriously. French partnerships typically continue longer and fidelity is crucial. When French person dates someone, they have most likely thought about getting married to that person. Also quite conventional are the roles that men and women play in a relationship. One of the reasons why French people tend to hate overtly romantic dates is that they would rather dating had less of an impact on their life. French men and women prefer to keep things informal and incorporate, finding love into the social life. It implies that you two won't be going out on a date alone. In reality, meeting you is the direct translation for the French phrase for a date, rendezvous. The French prefer to follow their own dating rules, which are very different from those of other European civilizations. This could require some getting used to, but it can also present a fun challenge contrary to popular belief. The French rarely go on dates, despite what cultural stereotypes might have you believed. They are not necessarily experts in romance and seduction. French people value equality in marriage, despite the stereotype of a dominant French husband and the submissive French wife. In fact, husband and wife in French families hold equal responsibilities. French people place a high priority on family. These tight bonds are valued and they play a significant role in French society. The value system is different in France though. Families are close-knit communities. Being an individual is discouraged. Instead, everyone in France is defined by their family ties, and the result of this mentally are evident all over France. Families in France still maintain close bonds between their members. Even after their kids grown up, sons and daughters who are adults typically live near to the family's home. Fashion has also been regarded as an epitome of elegance and sophistication. Setting the standards for fashion worldwide, the history of French fashion dates back centuries, with the first generation of French fashion designers emerging in the 17th century. During this time, French fashion was heavily influenced by the court of the Louis XIV, known as the Sun King. The court was a center of luxury and extravagance, and the fashions of the time reflected this opulence. Rich fabrics such as silk and velvet were used to create elaborate gowns and suits, often adorned with intricate embroidery and lace. In the early 20th century, French fashion underwent a radical transformation with the rise of designers such as Coco Chanel and Paul Poiret. This designer rejected the ornate styles of the past and embraced a more streamlined, modern aesthetic. Chanel credited with popularizing the little black dress, which became a timeless classic, while Poiret introduced the hobble skirt and the lampshade tunic. Today, French fashion remains a dominant force in the industry, with designers such as Chanel and Christian Louis Vuitton, and Isabelle Marant continuing to push boundaries of style and innovation. French fashion is known for its attention to details, exquisite craftsmanship, and luxurious materials, making it a symbol of refinement and elegance around the world. France is home to a celebrated art history before French culture existed. The people of the land had already been producing works of art for tens and thousands of years. The nation, particularly along the border with Spain, is home to some of the oldest caves painting ever discovered. Rock art and central sites like the Chauvet and Lascaux caves date as far back as 30,000 BCE. Literature and poetry have always played a significant role in France culture history. During the Middle Ages, medieval romance grew very popular amongst the literature classes. They depicted courtly knights, fair maidens, and villains attempting to keep them apart. One of the most enduring works from this period is a Song of Roland, composed around the 12th century. The tales of Tristan and Isolde met similar widespread acclaim. The 19th century saw a golden age among French writers. Alexandre Dumas authored a string of famous adventure novels like The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo. Victor Hugo looked to the Paris past when he wrote the modern classics Les Miserables and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. French music in a broad sense developed from both folk and religious tradition in the medieval era. The nation's most famous composers include Claude Debussy, Maurice Ravel, Georges Bizet, and Hector Berlioz. Those names may seem familiar to you. The surviving folklore musics of France is highly regional in character. Northern regions tend to show more Celtic influence, including the use of harps and bagpipes. Other common folk instruments of France are the fiddle, hurdy-gurdy, bombard, lute, accordion, and tambourine. France is known for its excellence in innovation in multiple sectors, making significant contributions to the global business landscape. One of the most popular and iconic businesses in France is the luxury fashion and accessories industry. French fashion brands have a long-standing reputation for elegance, craftsmanship, and style. The famous brands are first the Louis Vuitton. It is known for its iconic monogrammed bags. Louis Vuitton is a global luxury brand offering a wide range of fashion and accessories, including handbags, luggages, shoes, and ready-to-wear clothing. Chanel is also a legendary fashion brand that encompasses haute couture, ready-to-wear fashion, accessories, fragrances, and cosmetics. Retail. Large retail chains like Carrefour and Auchan have a strong presence in France, operating hypermarkets, supermarkets, and convenience stores across the country. These retail giants provide a wide range of products, including groceries, household items, and electronics. The excellencies of France made their country a leading business creators in Europe. France saw a record of number of 691,000 startups in 2018, buoyed by a 28% increase in micro enterprises. Etiquette is extremely important to people in France, and it's not unusual to see people being subtly disregarded by salespeople, waiters, or other in the service industry for not minding their manners. At any service counter, even if in a rush, the most absurd form of etiquette is greeting. Rushing in to make demands or a request without a brief bonjour can elicit a frosty response. Reasons why you shouldn't visit France. Language barriers. French is the official language of France, and while many people in popular tourist areas and larger cities speak English, there might be instances where communication could be a challenge, particularly in more remote or rural areas. However, with some basic knowledge of common French phrases or the use of translation tools, it is possible to navigate through this situation. Perception of rudeness. Some visitors have reported experience with perceived rudeness in France. Cultural difference and communication styles can sometimes create misunderstandings. French people often value directness and have a more reserved approach compared to other cultures. However, it is important to remember that this experience can vary widely, and most French people are friendly and welcoming. In conclusion, everything that I've talked about illustrates the key aspects of cultural, social, and other aspects of the French country and its people. I have laid it out to you on how amazing and full of life the French really is. Over the centuries, this incomparably rich and diverse influence created one of the interesting countries of all time, and the country is France.